Hi, Chef.
Hey there, how are you, Sam?
I'm good, and you?
Really great. How's that? We'll give about one more minute.
Okay.
You might be the only one. If you are, hey, one on one, whatever you want to know.
Okay. I'm
How's
ready to
uh
learn.
how's your first week going into this kind of blind?
It was good. It was good. Yeah.
You've done really well. You've done well so far.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep that up.
That's the plan. And I
Yeah.
didn't know if I need to wear my uniform or not.
So I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Whenever
Okay.
everybody else, there's only four of you that have remained in the class. We
What?
lost a bunch of people. You know, sometimes you come to school and you forget you've got to pay for school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, uh, anyway, well, we'll dive right in now. I've got 6 o'clock, so
Okay. So do I.
start on time and end on
Okay.
time. I have another class I have to go to later tonight. Anyway, I'm
Okay.
also a student.
Okay.
I'm working on a doctorate, and so I'm in the dissertation
Okay.
phase. I have advising every Monday night
Okay.
later. So
Okay.
you are doing such a good job already in this first week, and it looks like you've been in and out of Blackboard, and you're submitting assignments. Everything is like peachy perfect. So I'm gonna jump into Blackboard and kind of give a little tutorial. Rather
Okay.
than do that, Sandy, do you have any specific questions related to Blackboard, or anything that you're unsure about, or anything you're maybe a little bit nervous about? And I can answer that right now.
No, I'm actually the reason why I kept going back and forth was just to get myself familiarize myself with everything to make sure I don't miss any announcements, miss any assignments. So that's why that's one of the main reasons why I log in and out, just to make sure I don't miss anything. Because I know something could come up, and there may be another assignment or something, or a special assignment for extra credit. I don't want to miss any of that. So yeah. So, but I feel real comfortable with the Blackboard.
Good, good. So
Mm-hmm.
let me dispel a few myths, maybe,
Okay.
and I think it's a good idea to log in and check and double check from time to time, but I also don't want you to feel like um, there may be a surprise come and you
Okay.
get in every day. That's not the case at all.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay.
So I'm gonna share my screen here. So give me
Okay.
just a second, and we'll look at Blackboard just for a second. I want to show you a couple of things.
Okay. Okay.
Come on, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, you should see it now. You see Blackboard.
Wait a minute, my screen. Yeah, I
Okay.
see it now. Mm-hmm.
So yours will look just a little bit different. Obviously, when you log in through the student portal and you click on Blackboard there on the left-hand side of the screen, boom,
Mm-hmm.
you come to here. This is your main Blackboard dashboard.
Okay.
Here in the middle, you see my cursor going round and round?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here you see maybe just Food One, or you see only the classes that you are currently enrolled in.
Right.
Okay, I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff right now, so you see many things here.
Right.
Click on our class,
Okay.
Food One for the summer.
Okay.
Boom, and we come here. You know what? And this is recorded, so I'm gonna have to edit this out probably when I say this, because I'll get fired or something. And I really won't. But the dumbest thing in Blackboard to me, I shouldn't say the dumbest. That's really rude. I could get fired for that.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest thing about Blackboard and this shell here for us at UAPTC is
Mhm.
this you have to log in to the portal.
Mhm.
To log in, you have to click on any course. So you have
Right.
to get into the course.
Mhm.
Once you're into the course, the very first thing you see in every class, it's the same. This UAPTC Blackboard navigation tutorial.
I noticed that because I have two classes online, and they both, yeah,
Have you looked at that video yet?
I have.
Well, it's really helpful once you're already in Blackboard.
Right.
That was my sarcasm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah, I know.
sarcasm yet. So, okay, wait a minute. Who is Galaxy S25G?
You're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute. Here we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hey, sorry, Chev. I was having major internet connection issues because of the storm here, so nothing was working on any of my devices. So I'm glad I finally got on.
Well,
Jill Crane.
okay. So listen, um, you haven't missed anything yet.
Okay.
Fortunately, I just got into Blackboard. I wanted to go through a few things. This is being recorded, and so probably won't happen until around midday tomorrow. But this whole recording is going to go into Blackboard.
Okay.
You don't see the file yet until I put this video in, but near the very top, well, I'll just show you. We're here in Blackboard, and I'm going to scroll down just, well, I won't scroll down yet. I'm going to click on course content. This is where you're always going to go. Okay. And so this is where you're going to do your work. And you both of you have seen this. Both of you have been working on stuff already. Now, what you are seeing right now is my view. So you're seeing the instructor view. For example, you can see last week, and when you log in as you won't see last week at all.
I noticed that.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
when it closes, it's closed. It's completely gone. You can't get back in.
Oh.
I've set it up that way. You will take other classes in the future, and an instructor might say you have a due date, but they may allow you to submit assignments after the due date, maybe for a little grade penalty or whatever. I have, especially for this class, there have been problems in the past with too many students waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting till the last minute or the end of the semester to try to do all of this work and just say to themselves, I'll take the point deduction. Academically, you may still pass, but in the wonderful world of educational psychology, you don't remember anything. You don't retain anything. And food production 1 is, I will admit, it's probably one of the hardest classes to take in culinary school because it is not what most people think that culinary school is going to be. Food production 2 is the class that most people think culinary school is. This whole class is primarily knife skills. So you're going to cut and you're going to cut. This class has a lot of school in culinary school, if that makes sense. Get all the theory out of the way. Then when you go on to food production 2 and food production 3 and food production 4, there's much, much more culinary and less school. Does that make sense? So I changed things from previous semesters, and the way this is set up for the summer, Everything is open. So all of the assignments, I know week 1 is behind us, but week 2 through week 9 is all open. And the format of each week is very, very much the same. So San, what I was telling you a little bit earlier, I wanted to show you this so you don't feel like, any of you don't need to feel like you've got to get back in and you've got to check every day to see if something else is being posted. All of your homework, all of your assignments, all of your lab work, everything is here. The only thing that is not here right now are the things that we're going to talk about every Monday evening. And this Zoom session on Monday is going to be really up to you. This is not about any pre-planned lecture or a PowerPoint or some outline that I'm trying to follow. Later on, a few weeks from now, when you really start cutting, I'll probably bring a few pictures from work that you all have submitted, names redacted. So we're all going to learn from each other. I'll give comments that are applicable to everyone. That's what we're going to do in this Zoom session. I plan on maybe the first 20 minutes or so is going to be my time. I've got something to review, or I've got something that I want to say, or an overview of something, or a review to give. And the rest of the time is going to be up to you. And if you don't have questions, or you don't have comments, or whatever, then we don't have to take the whole hour. But because of a course that I'm in as a student, we won't take any more than the hour. So you can plan your family time and stuff like that accordingly. Let's open up the week that just opened early this morning. It won't be exactly identical every week, but it's going to be almost the same thing every week, if that makes sense. Here, there's almost always going to be some kind of a lecture type video. Some of these are curated from YouTube because of particular topics that we're addressing in the week. Mise en place, food safety, catering, professionalism, what it means to be a chef. Some of these videos are curated from YouTube. I hope this doesn't come across as insulting anyone's intelligence, or I don't want you to feel like I'm teaching you from YouTube, something that you can do on your own anytime. And why'd you come to culinary school if it's just going to be YouTube stuff? It is not most of the time, but these are some good videos, and I ask some very specific questions for you to write 2 or 3 paragraphs about whatever the prompt is. Take a look at, for example, I think this week is, this week, I'm sorry if y'all haven't seen these yet. I'm sorry about that already. San's kind of smirking already. Have you already watched those? You watch me kind of drone on and blah, blah, blah.
I loved those.
Well, okay. Thank you. Flattery gets you everywhere. So
no, I'm being serious. You'll see in my responses, but yeah, I totally related to all 3 of those.
I did too.
Good. All right. We have that recorded, so I will use those against in the future. Let me pull up another week. Before I do, for most of the summer, for most of the semester, I'll always refer to this as a semester, there will be some kind of a kitchen math assignment. Now, listen, especially to the 3 of you that are on right now, These first 3 or 4 weeks, actually most of the kitchen math for Food One just might insult your intelligence just a little bit. But just to give you some context, in the larger world of culinary school and the very first semester class, there are a surprising number of students who have difficulty differentiating between 8 plus 3, 8 minus 3, and 8 times 3. As basic and as simple as that kind of math is, we do need to cover just a little bit of that 4th, 5th, 6th grade math before we move on to what we will be doing in the latter half of this term. And our main kitchen math objective for Food One is learning how to scale recipes a certain way. Okay. And when a recipe is written for 6 to 8 servings, and I love that recipe, and I want to use this recipe for the church potluck that I've been asked to cook a special dish for, and that church potluck is going to have, the pastor says, 263 people. I have to scale that recipe written for 6 to 8 up to 263. And there is a proper way to do it so that you're not just guessing and you're not just saying, well, if I've got a recipe for 10 and there's a certain way to do it so that we don't overproduce, so that we don't underproduce, and all of those things cost us money. We're in an industry, and even more so as we are clawing our way out of COVID, when we can officially say post-pandemic, we are in an industry that every penny matters. And in one single recipe, the extra cup of mayonnaise, the extra quart of cream, that only cost a couple of dollars. If we have the mentality or develop the habit of it's only a couple of dollars, any of you that want to own your own business, you have failed before you ever open. Let me give you a little background of me. So we'll go down this rabbit hole. I've got a little bit of ADD and sometimes a lot of bit of ADD. And I'll give you a little hint. If you're bored with what I'm saying, somebody just asked me a question about anything and I go right down the rabbit hole. Sometimes I have a hard time getting back out of the rabbit hole. That's okay. But I failed to really introduce myself to any of you. A couple of you I've met before and we've said hi and we've interacted in the hallway at the culinary school or something like that. I am Chef Robert Hall and I am your instructor as we go through this journey of knife skills. I've been in commercial kitchens a little over 30 years. I have cooked in many places around the world. All over the United States. I've competed at local, regional, national, and international levels. With the American Culinary Federation, I'm a certified executive chef and a certified culinary administrator. I am the lead certification evaluator for state of Arkansas. With the World Association of Chef Societies, I am the only certified master chef in Arkansas. Now, I don't, as you get to know me and starting in the fall, when you show up at the culinary school and take other classes in person, you'll see by my license plate, I'm probably the most egotistical and pretentious chef that will be among your instructors ever in culinary school. See Me Cook is my vanity license plate on my car, And I display that very proudly. I'm working on a dissertation right now, and that license plate next year will be changed to Dr. Chef. As I earn a doctorate next summer, I will complete everything by about this time next year. I do share with you some of that certification, not to be egotistical, not to put myself on any kind of a pedestal, but I want you to feel confident about the information that I'm passing on. And while a lot of it will be in writing, and I'll show you in a minute what it's going to look like, a lot of the feedback that I give you, especially the quicker feedback that I give you, will be through comments within Blackboard. There's a whole world of experience that backs up this feedback. There are many chefs that would teach a class like this, and you're going to be expected to perform a certain cut, and you know, a brunoise is a French name for a cut that you're going to do later in the summer, and it's a square, it's a cube, but a brunoise is a specific dimension. It's 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. And you can either do that or you can't. That's one way of looking at this. I'm not one of those chefs. When I introduce you to the brunoise and you have to do the lab for grade and you cut this for the first time, I don't expect that you will be cutting with 4 or 5 or 6 weeks of holding a knife properly. You won't be cutting at the same level as someone that's held that knife for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. Okay. So I will always temper my feedback a little bit with where I expect you to be, while also including some comments that are gonna prepare for the real industry, and sometimes might be a little brutal. Those comments are a review of your cutting or your cooking or your plate presentation, not an evaluation or an assessment of you. Does that make sense? I think it is very important to know that and to understand that as you begin what could be the rest of your life, this whole career. This business is hard. And you've got to have a little bit of a thick skin. We have to keep context. We have to contextualize the comments that are made to us and the feedback that's given to us. When we prepare a dish and that dish is being evaluated, it's the dish being evaluated, not you. I promise you, while I have said words like this in kitchens where I have worked, I promise you'll never hear out of me, that is the worst thing I've ever seen on a plate. I would not even flush that in my toilet. And so you won't get that kind of feedback, I promise you. But if I tell you something like, you know, that's really not very consistent at all, that just means we've got to work a little bit more. And as we go, I'll share with you what that means and what that's going to look like. But there you go. That's me. And I'll jump out of that rabbit hole and back into, we looked at a little lecture. We talked about kitchen math just a little bit. There's going to be some kind of lab work each week. There was not in week 1. And in week 2, for this week, there's not a lab assignment for you to upload. There's not an assignment that will be graded. in this lab section of the week. This week's main theme is learning how to sharpen a knife. Now I'll ask you, you can unmute and say yes, or you can just give me the little Zoom thumbs up, or you can wave. Everybody's camera's on. You can just say thumbs up. Does everyone have knives?
Yes, but after watching those videos, where do you get that kit?
Which one?
The sharpening kit.
The Bob Kramer, these whetstones.
Yeah, like both of the people in the video had kind of the same little wooden tray with the whetstones.
So that's something specifically designed by this guy right here, Bob Kramer.
Okay.
Why I included these instead of just me sharpening, and you will see that, you'll see me sharpening as we go. Bob Kramer is a former chef, and he got so much into knives, he kind of left the kitchen per se and became a knife smith. So that little wooden frame and the specific whetstones that he uses, he sells. Okay. Listen to Chef. Chef is wise. What you do you, and what you want to do is really, really up to you. But to go to Amazon, and that's where I go. If I can't find it at Walmart, I get it. I live in Morrilton, so there's nowhere else to go in Morrilton. If Walmart doesn't have it, then I know I'm going to find it on the Amazons, and that's where I go. I go to the Amazons, and I can find anything I want all around the world. You can find exactly Bob Kramer's knife sharpening system, and if you look that up on Amazon, your jaw might drop when you see some of the price point of his system. Even, there's smaller, there's larger.
Yeah, I figured.
See it in the world of other whetstones. And so,
well, if we have the hone, is that sufficient for our educational needs?
The hone is what you will use on a daily basis. Okay. The whetstones are something that you would use to to sharpen your edge. The hone refines. Here's what happens. I don't know if you can see my hands in the camera very well, but you have I'll try to do it like this against the wall. I'm like a weatherman, and you got to do everything backwards. So you can't see that very well, the angle in the camera, but your knife right now, fresh, brand new, is sharp. And that sharp comes from this refined edge that has the same angle on either side of the edge. It comes to a complete point. The sharp part is the point, and you have the same angle on either side. What does the cutting are these microscopic serrations. You follow me? When you cut through a tomato, you start bending these little microscopic serrations. Before you even notice it, we want to get in the habit of, I'm going to cut now, so I'm going to hone my blade. 6 to 8 passes on either side at about 20 degrees. You pull those bends back out. You re-straighten those microscopic serrations. Well, what happens to metal? What happens to metal when you bend it and bend it back and bend it and bend it back and bend it and bend it back? What happens to metal? Do you know? Where that bend is. Go ahead, Jill.
Yeah, it just gets weak and brittle, right? To break off.
Gets weak, it gets brittle, then it breaks. You're going to reach a point where, and you'll notice it, the more you use your knives, the more you'll get accustomed with this feel. When you hone 6 or 8 times, you don't get the bite, you don't get the edge. It doesn't move real smoothly through the tomato. That's because those serrations have bent so much or completely broken off. I now need to create a whole new edge. Whetstones. That is sharpening. The sharpening steel that's in your knife kit, if you bought the student knife kit, or you go to Walmart and you buy one of those sticks and it's got grooves that run from the hilt, the handle, all the way up to the tip, and they run long ways. Okay, as long as those grooves are in there, it's going to work really well to hone your edge, and we call that honing. When honing doesn't work very well, when it doesn't work anymore, you need to sharpen. This is a 10-week course. Week 1 is already behind us. Week 2 that we're in right now, we're not cutting yet. And so we really have 8 weeks of cutting. And the amount of cutting that you will be doing really shouldn't require any of you to need a whetstone. So what I'm getting at is, don't feel like you need to go to Amazon and you need to, or go to some stone place. I think there's a couple of places more like Blanchard Springs and Mountain Home, you know, Arkansas sandstones, Arkansas whetstones. You can find all kinds of whetstones from really cheap to super expensive. Every lab at the culinary school has 2, 3, 4 sets of these whetstones in the lab. And so maybe by the first 2 or 3 weeks of this coming fall semester, yeah, you might need to hit whetstone. You typically want to do that probably once a semester, depending on the class that you're in. Meat and seafood, if you're using your own knives for meat and seafood, which some of you will, you're going to be, you'll be nicking bones and you'll be cutting through a lot of fat, sometimes thick fat. And that does a number on those little microscopic and so you might reach for the whetstones in the product ID lab maybe twice, 2 or 3 times in the semester when you take meat and seafood. But I don't want anybody to feel like you need to run out and go get these whetstones. If you want to, I would encourage you to get, they won't last very long, but you can go to Amazon and you can get whetstones in a variety of different grits. I would encourage you to get something that is, the number is less than 1,000. So, you know, a 400 to 600 grit stone, that would be your first stone. I'm a big fan of multi-phase or phased sharpening. So I'm going to use like a 600 grit stone, and I'm going to use like maybe a 1,400 grit stone. And then I'm going to use like a 3,000 or 4,000 grit stone. Maybe those 3. That grit number refers to the size and the number of grains, individual grains, that's in a square inch. So a 600 grit stone has 600 grains of sand, if you will. There's 600 grains in a 1/4 of an inch. That's big. That's going to do kind of the heavy duty work. The 1,400 grit stone is going to be really your fine sharpening, and the, say, 4,000 grit stone is going to be a little more of a polishing stone. Versus Bob Kramer's system, you know, you can get each of those stones at about $15 or $20 a piece. Versus Bob Kramer's system, and if you get three stones, you're going to be in this anywhere from $500 to $700 for that system. that may be something that you want to invest in later on. Go a little less expensive if you want to do this. Go a little less expensive and learn what you're doing before you invest bigger money. Now, let me jump down another rabbit hole. With that said, I strongly encourage you, especially in Food Production 1, strongly encourage you to avoid getting caught up buying high-end brand name knives. Okay. I had 3 or 4 students last semester, because they all chatted with each other, went out and bought Shun knives. A Shun knife, S-H-U-N, you can look it up. It's a Japanese knife. It's a different kind of steel. It's a different kind of blade. Japanese knives are meant for Japanese food. And that's not, we don't do a lot of Asian food in this country. I don't want you using sushi knives on the kind of cutting that needs a French chef knife. What we're learning is primarily French technique and French method. There'll be a time and a place for fancy knives and that kind of thing later on in your career. I've been doing this over 30 years, like I said, and I've got probably $100,000 worth of knives, and I probably have $50,000 worth of knives, but I don't have a single. I don't have a Santoku, because that's an Asian knife. It's really a heavy-duty sushi knife. We don't use that kind of thing in our food. I don't have a Shun, and I don't have Nagasaki, something like. I don't have any of those Yaki-Paki, Muki-Puki knives. In fact, if you got the Mercer student knives, that's a good knife. And those are knives that you're going to use. If you do this, if you're in a restaurant now, if you go from this into restaurants, and you're going to be in the pressure cooker working 10, 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week with a knife in your hand all of that time, your Mercer chef knife is gonna be good for you, good to you, for the next 10, 12, 15 years. It's a really good quality knife. So that's all I have to say about that. If you don't have the student knives, never mind. All y'all have your knives, right? Do y'all have the Mercer kits?
I have 4 that was in like the baking.
Yeah, you're fine. If you got the baking kit, that's your, Jennifer, that's your primary major, isn't it?
Well, I'm doing the hybrid. So I'm doing half culinary, half pastry.
Good. Okay.
So I'll do meat and seafood, and I'm going to go ahead and do food 3 and 4.
Awesome.
And
garde-manger?
Yeah. And soups and sauces. Yes.
San, you're a culinary major?
I'm doing, yes, I'm doing applied science culinary.
Culinary. Jill, you're culinary, pastry?
I'm going to do the hybrid. I'm going to do the same as the culinary and the pastry. And I did, my knives should be in Wednesday, and I ordered, there were several different Mercer kits. So I actually ordered mine online. It's the Mercer, but there were several different ones. So was there specific, I think what I got from you the other day, maybe there were like 3 different ones we needed for sure.
So for this class, and I'll tell you already in advance for Food Production 2, There are 3 things that you're going to need out of either kit, any kit. And I believe these are all covered in the pastry kit, as well as the culinary. You need a chef knife, and I don't care. The size of the chef knife is going to be whatever feels comfortable for you. I like an 8-inch chef knife. Most of our kits come with either. I think the pastry kit comes with either an 8-inch or a 10-inch. The culinary kit comes with both an 8-inch and a 10-inch. It doesn't matter to me.
The 10-inch.
Okay, if you're good with that, then that's fine. I'm kind of not so much in the midsection, but I'm kind of small for a guy, and the 8-inch chef knife fits in my hand. It feels good. It's the right weight. It's the right size. I was some time ago the executive chef at UCA, and my sous chef Noe Gomez is a little smaller than me. And he preferred a 12-inch chef knife, and that thing felt like a samurai sword. I hated, just doing something really quick, grabbing his knife. A terrible thing. But that's personal preference. You need a chef knife, you need a paring knife, and you need the hone.
Well, and can I ask this? So for 1.5 years, I've been holding my knife wrong. And so by watching the videos and looking at the diagrams, and I guess, was that food too? Anyway, practicing holding it correctly, it feels very foreign. And I'm wondering, should I get the 8-inch if it feels like it's harder to use that way, or is it just that I need to get used to it?
Without seeing you cut, I would say you probably need to get used to it.
Okay.
If and I hate to just jump right into a music analogy if nobody else. Didn't y'all ever take piano lessons when y'all were little girls? You took some piano lessons? Maybe a little bit, so you can understand that. My bachelor's degree is in music, so I may pull out music references from time to time. If you learned to play piano, or you sat down to play the piano first, just tinkering on the keys, and you learned the sounds, and you plunked out some kind of a song, and you played that song over and over, and you were proud of yourself, and you kept doing that over and over and over again, you got into a certain habit. And then you sat down with your piano teacher, and she said, slap your hand. No, you got to curl your fingers right, and you got to sit up straight, and you got to do that. No, you got to. My piano teacher, my first piano teacher, was my mama, and she slapped my hands all the time. She slapped me, and use the board and beat me half to. No, it wasn't all like that. It was. Never mind. This is recorded. I have to cut that out. Edit. So you didn't go run out and buy a new piano with smaller keys or a different key structure, and I know that's not a great analogy, but how you hold the knife and how a knife functions and the dynamics of a cut, that doesn't matter what size knife you have. The more you use a knife, I've used an 8-inch chef knife for so long, and I will show you next week. I'll probably move from my living room over to my kitchen, and we'll have this little discussion in my kitchen, because I'm going to want to show you, in addition to some of the pictures and the videos that you're going to watch, I want to show you and discuss with you holding the knife, guiding the knife, I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that are going to feel really, really stupid. And Jennifer, you kids and a big family, they will probably make fun of you if you really do at least one of these exercises I'm going to give you to do. But there are some habits that need to be broken, and there are some attributes of cutting that have to be developed right now. You have got to get used to the feel of the steel of the blade right against your hand, against your fingers. And we have to turn off the little safety thing in our brain that says, oh no, that knife is sharp. It needs to be far away from our fingers. When we put all of these things together, and the more you practice, I prefer an 8-inch chef knife because that size has become a natural extension of my right hand. And I can be looking away, and I can be carrying on a conversation with somebody else. I can be cutting and looking at what's on the stove and what's in the pots and still working, because I know exactly what part of the knife I'm using in that size and that space. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And so the size does matter as you get accustomed to using a particular knife. But firstly, we have to get technique down, and that technique is independent of 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch. There are little, even smaller 6- and 7-inch chef knives. And I've got 2 little 6-inch chef knives that I've used for a couple of students that are just really, really tiny. And an 8-inch chef knife, they would just have problems with. But anyway, there you go. Okay. So you have usually some kind of lecture, some kind of kitchen math assignment, some kind of lab assignment, weekly key terms. Okay. Now listen, this is the easiest way to do this. I'm in week 2, so I'm in the current week. You can click on key terms, or right here where you see the DOCX, this is the file. The file is in here, or the file is in here in this link, either one. If I click on this, it's right up here. You see where the cursor is? This is one of the things I don't really care about with Blackboard. It doesn't give you the blue and the underline for you to easily see that this is a link for you to download a file. You kind of have to look for the .docx or .pdf. I did these in Word, so you don't have to convert anything. If you have Microsoft Word at home on a desktop or a laptop, that's great. If you do not own any Microsoft Office product, you have access to Microsoft Student 365. You have to access it through your email. And if you need help with that, email me. We can work, I'll work with you one-on-one and help you figure out what to do. But here's what happens. You're gonna right click. This is the best thing to do. I'm gonna right click on the file, and I'm gonna save the link somewhere else. This is my dissertation stuff I'm working on, so apologize for that. I'm gonna go out here on my desktop, and I'm gonna create a food 1 folder. And I'm going to save this file in that folder. Okay. If you just click on it, it's going to go to your download folder. a problem that some people have is trying to work with that file within the download folder. When you do that, it may inadvertently, when you come back to upload, attach the file of your written work, your finished work. You're going to come to this attached file. You're going to browse your computer, and it's going to take you back immediately to that file that you downloaded, which is a blank file. And so you're uploading the blank file. Does that make sense? If you right click on it and you save it somewhere else, y'all are just going to see how busy all of my stuff is. See all that garbage? I'm going to click on the Food One file that I created. Now here's that file. Here's my key terms. All it is it is very third or fourth grade. And I promise you, again, I don't want to insult your intelligence. This is not, this is a college class. I realize this is a college class, but I know of no better way, given the volume of information. Food One really is information overload. The amount that we have to cover, and doing this in a way that helps you kind of record and remember certain things. As third or fourth grade as this sounds, all I want you to do is type in the definition. You find it in the book. You'll use the glossary. You'll use the index. I give you a little bit of hint. So for this week, these terms are in chapter 1, chapter 5, and chapter 10. If you have the book already, great. If you don't have the book yet, I've given you chapter 1 in last week's folder, and I can open that back up if you need it. And I've given you chapter 5 of the textbook in this week's folder. I'll show you where it is. That usually gives most people, the first couple of weeks of school to get the textbook and all of that. Do you have textbook 6th edition on cooking?
Mine comes tomorrow.
Okay.
But I was going to ask, both for this class and the other class that I have with you, I would love to be able to go back and review some of those videos. So I just wondered if you could leave those previous weeks up. Is that possible?
Yes, I'll work it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I can fix that.
Like the chicken one from Food 2, I was going to go back and look at it today.
What you did last week for Food 2, Jennifer, is the last thing we do in Food 1.
Oh, that's fun.
So, yes.
Well, good, because I was going to ask you for a one-on-one to do that with you.
To do the chicken and all of that? Well,
yeah. I've never touched meat like that before. So.
Yeah.
That's new for me.
Well, and since you've mentioned that, I'll go down this rabbit hole.
Oh, sorry.
No, especially in this class, one or two of you, each one of you may want this, may need this from time to time. I'm very happy to arrange with you one-on-one. You need help with holding your knife. You need help with this particular cut. You need help with my cuts aren't coming out even or whatever. And, while this online environment right now is at least in part asynchronous, there's a video to watch, you go practice that skill. On the one hand, it's difficult because There's not a right there in the moment, on the spot, oh, I have a question. I need to raise my hand in class and ask Chef a question. I don't understand how you're holding a knife. I don't understand what you're doing, which you can do if you're live in the classroom with me in person. Okay. Now, with that understood, on the flip side of that coin, what you get to do in this online environment, and this is all experimental. Y'all are part of an experiment. We don't have time tonight. I'll go down that rabbit hole later. But what you get to do that in-person students can't is, all right, let me see that cut again. Okay, let me watch that cut again. And let me watch that cut again. As you go forward, when we start cutting in week 3, really in week 4, I've shot these videos, but I didn't edit them like a TV show where you're not going to see, it's not a 1.5 minute cutting session and you see this and then you see this angle and then you see this angle. I have 3 cameras on when I cut, and I've given you the entire footage of all 3 cameras back to back. So you're going to see about 3 minutes of one angle, and then 3 minutes of another angle, and then 3 minutes of another angle for you at your leisure. Well, I want to see this side, and you can watch that over and over again. Does that make sense? You get to do that over and over until it clicks, or whatever works for you. So one-on-one is just like you're going to come to the office, an advising session. But I do that in any of the online classes. I do that specifically to your knife skills, to cutting. Later in the semester, near the end, when you learn to fabricate chicken, you're going to get one whole chicken. I think I have a pretty good video on how to do and what to do and where you're going to cut, but you probably never handled meat that way before. And maybe before you do or while you do, hey, Chef, I'd like some one-on-one coaching while we can work that out. We can work out a time. San, go ahead.
Actually, my very first job was working at Church's Chicken. And back then, in the 70s, we actually had to cut up 200 birds. We had to go into a walk-in freezer, and there was this blade running, and you had to have these little mesh gloves in, and you zip it down center, then you zip the leg and the thigh and the breast, then you zip that breast, but that breast and wing had part of that little breast on there for Church's, and then you do the leg and the thigh. You had to, yeah, I've had to do that before. That was my first job.
I teach you how to do an 8-piece cut.
Yep. With
your paring knife. I know, right? Don't look at me. Don't look at me in that tone of voice now. I'm telling you, you will, I show you how to do this with a paring knife.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so there's a commercial. Keep you motivated and keep you going until about week 7. I think it's on week 7 or 8.
Wow.
So that's coming down the pike. Let me cover this other thing here real quick. So we've seen the key terms. Some weeks there's going to be as many as 30 or 40 terms, and some weeks you're going to have maybe 10 or 15. And I've got a couple of people who have had me before in Food 2 this semester. I have one student, she will remain unnamed. She's having surgery. As we have class coming up pretty soon, she will be out of commission for about 2 or 3 weeks. And as of today, she did the work. She took the first week and did all of the key terms for the semester. They're done. This week, she's doing all of the quizzes for this semester. they'll be done. They're out of the way. I don't expect you to do that. But if you do, anything is better than wait until the last minute or kind of missing. One other thing that is going to be in each week is going to be the quiz. You see this little check mark and the red X and the pencil. That's a quiz. That's a test. Okay. The quizzes, usually 15 to 20 questions, no time limit, open book, one shot. When you open it, you're in it. If you leave it, it will time out. If you stay in it and you're working, you can flip through the pages. It doesn't matter to me. I want you to know it. Okay. But it's only a one-shot deal. If it times out, it will grade what you've completed. Does that make sense? If we have weather like we're having now, Jill, for example, is having some technology issues. These things will arise from time to time. Y'all just communicate with me. I want to be disciplined. I want to set a certain standard that is true to our industry. There's not always kind, compassionate, we get to redo, we do it again. Oh, I want you to feel good, and I'm so sensitive about your feelings. I'm going to say this out loud, and I don't want to offend anybody, but written on my DNA, what's in my nature, I am a little bit of an old school chef. And I really don't care about your daggum feelings. I care about this industry, and I care about us learning and preparing for a hard industry. Now, with that said, I also try to not be a mean prick of a chef. I've done that in my career. I've thrown plates. I've used language that I'm going to have to stand before the Lord and apologize for some language that I've used in my life. And that's not me anymore. We can work through anything if we communicate about it. I care about you and your grade only as much as you care about you and your grade. Does that make sense? The responsibility is on you. Sure. I've built a system, I hope, that is effective for learning, but there's going to be technology issues. There's going to be, my kids came running through the house and they unplugged the computer while I was working on it, and I lost everything. I can reopen quizzes. I can resend you key terms. I can open things up back in Blackboard. I can clear an attempt that you weren't happy with so that you can do it again and submit it again. I do want to emphasize this one caution though. If you're not happy with the grade of a quiz, 30 or 40 points in the course of 2,000 points in the term, that's not going to hurt you. And don't do the quiz at 11:45 on Sunday night, knowing that it is going to time out at 11:59, and then email me that I'm not going to get till Monday morning when I decide to get out of bed. It's my summertime too, I'm not going to get that message right away, and I'm sorry, the week closed. Now, having said that, we can work through anything. We can work through anything if we communicate.
Can I ask this? Do many of your students, assuming you complete the terms and you do well on your quizzes and you complete your lab work, do those type of students make A's?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
A or B?
I have a 4.0, so.
Okay.
That's what I'm working towards.
Let's close. I've got us just a couple minutes past 7. San, go ahead. Ask your question.
I just wanted to know, will there be, since I work a full-time job, yes, I want to make sure that I can still do online classes or maybe evening classes for this particular, what I'm, going to school for. I was told that the advisor said there would be some online classes and night classes.
So listen, yeah, let me answer that question, and then we'll close. We'll end on Jennifer's comment about I want to share with everybody how to maintain your 4.0.
Okay.
At least in this class.
Okay.
The other classes at the culinary school, let me tell you something that's going on. We're as a whole school, as a culinary school, we are in the middle of I think it's a very exciting evolution. Okay. My doctorate, my doctoral research, as I think all three of you may know, there was that pre-course survey. That survey had nothing to do with exactly this course. Those of you that took it, it's more about what's your perceptions of doing stuff online and blah, 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 blah. I jumped into online learning, online education, and researching whether or not this is even effectively possible for culinary arts in 2009. And now here we are. And January of 2019 is when I started doctoral studies to pursue this formally. And well, what happened? What happened in March of 2020? COVID-19. I'm the only person in the state of Arkansas that kind of gave a little girlish squeal and got excited about COVID-19. And y'all will get to know my level, my brand of sarcasm. My daughter got COVID. I don't mean I'm excited about COVID, and people are still suffering. Mm-hmm. I've got a friend whose wife may not be long for the world. She's on a ventilator in an ICU, and this is a terrible thing. But prior to COVID-19, my colleagues, your other instructors at the culinary school, all of them were online culinary arts education. Good luck, chef. That's about the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Whatever. And I've worked on this. I've been building this. It wasn't all of a sudden we've got COVID and we've got to switch to online. Let's rush through this. I've been helping other courses, other instructors in the culinary school consider ways of building. This course is still evolving. It's very different this semester than it was last fall, which was very different than it was in the spring before. And so this is in a constant evolution. But to answer your question, San, yes. In fact, right now, for those of you, you two that are doing the hybrid, the only courses that will not be available online on the culinary side right now is Garde Manger, Food 3, and Food 4. Food 3 and Food 4 will not be online, ever.
I don't think I have to take those though. I don't think.
Are you a culinary arts major?
Oh, well, maybe I do.
Yeah, you'll have to take Food 3 and Food 4. So the Food 1 is knife skills, fundamental. Food 2 is how to cook, is the cooking skills.
Okay.
3 and Food 4 are different evolutions of working in the kitchen. And it's—
Would that be night classes?
Food 4 is at night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Food 3, it depends on the semester.
Okay.
We've had Food 3 at night.
I'm just taking those because I want to for my future professional endeavors.
In the culinary arts world, And I agree with this argument. The one problem with online learning is, and preparing students for the restaurant world, the professional kitchen world,
Gotcha.
the way for you to get experience with the heat, the chaos, trying to control what's out of control, the working in the team environment, the team dynamic with incredible egos. To learn to work in that environment, the only way you can do that is work in that environment.
Yeah.
So unless our curriculum and course designs change, which could happen, as presently constituted, Food 3 and Food 4 will have to be in person. I'm working with another chef to design garde manger online. So maybe by the spring, just about everything that we have in the culinary school, on the culinary side, everything will be online, but Food 3 and Food 4.
Okay. Okay.
That's amazing. It's really amazing.
Good, because for me, since I work a full-time job, that's excellent. I'm a little concerned for fall, what I can, because I know you're supposed to take this in order, is what I was told.
Well, Food 2, you can take Food 2 online. So
Food 2 would be, okay.
Yeah. And I teach the online course Food 2. We'll see what happens for the spring. Saying you're gonna be concerned about Food 3 in the spring. And all I can say, I don't want to set any kind of expectation, but that's going to be a Miss Renee conversation. That's going to go to a higher pay grade. But again, we want to see you succeed.
Okay.
We want to see you get the certificates and the degrees.
Yeah.
Everybody's story is individual and it's one-on-one. And there's not a one size fits all.
I left her a couple of messages and email. I hadn't heard from her because I want to discuss, because I want to go ahead and get enrolled for fall. I hadn't enrolled for fall yet. And that was my concern, what I can take. I
can enroll you.
You can?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
We do that before the week's out.
Oh, well, okay then. Well, all righty then. Okay. Yeah. Then
Renee,
okay.
oh, if I could say this lovingly and respectfully, y'all leave her alone.
Okay.
Especially right now. We don't have a director. Those of you that have been around the school and know Miss Taylor, Taylor's gone. And right now, this minute, Renee has the entire culinary school on her shoulders.
Oh, no wonder. Oh, that makes sense. No wonder. Because normally at first she was just calling me right back and I was like, okay.
And all of us instructors are also academic advisors. I may not be your assigned academic advisor, but I have all the magic potions. And
then let's get this done then, so I can get let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, we need to do this pretty quick too, because the online Food 2 only has a limited number of slots left. So
ASAP, can we do it after we get off this call? Oh no, you got something to do after this call.
We can do it tomorrow.
Sounds good. Anytime.
Okay.
You have
let's finish up with Jennifer made a comment about how to make a 4.0. This is how you make a 4.0. Do all the work.
Okay.
Follow directions. If you see some words on the screen, read those words. And if you're sidetracked and they didn't click, just read the words one more time. Read the words one more time. Part of this class is learning to follow directions. 75% of this course is you did the work or you didn't do the work. When you submit the key terms, I read every single word. But I don't have the textbook memorized, and I'm not after a particular answer written in a certain way. But I know if you give me some BS. The key terms, just as an example, it's not an all or nothing. If there's 30 terms, it's 30 points. If it's 40 terms, it's 30 points. If it's 10 terms, it's 30 points. If it's one term, you got a 29 out of 30. Again, that's not gonna kill you. Okay. If you do the work, so 90% of grade problems that people get into with me and either one of my classes is I do the lab work, I do the culinary work, but I don't do the school work. It works out to be about 50-50. You can ace all of the lab work, but not do any of the academic, which is, I can't see how there's a problem. It's fourth grade. You know, your kitchen math this week, I think, is the sheet that just says, what's 8 + 2? And why don't you round this to the nearest 10th place? All right, that might be fifth grade math. You know, I don't know. That might be next week's math even. The key terms are just writing out a definition. The quiz is open book. So you don't know what you don't know. Each one of you, you're going to take a quiz, you're going to read an answer, and you may only get part of it, and you miss one of the questions. Okay, I'm happy to work that out with you, but if I can show you I know that we're over time, but if I can show you one last thing, this will help you in your learning as well, and it will help you prepare for the written final. The written final will also be open book. And I'm going to tell you, you three already in advance, the written final is the weekly quizzes. So if you do the weekly quizzes, you have the written final.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about that. If you go to your grades, click on.
And what about wearing our uniform for Zoom?
You don't have to wear your uniform for Zoom. You follow your directions on lab assignments. I will have lab assignments where I ask you you're going to cut stuff and I want close-ups of the cuts. Then I want you in uniform holding the cuts. Those are the times when I want to see you in uniform. I don't see you. Now, some of your assignments will include video. I'll talk about those next week. But some of your assignments will include video. Yes, I expect you to be working in uniform.
Okay. Okay.
But if it's a week that you're just going to submit 2 or 3 or 4 pictures, one of those pictures is going to be you holding your cuts or you displaying your cuts and you're in uniform. If you do cuts in your pajamas, I don't care about that. Have your uniform on when I ask you to put your uniform. Okay. Nobody's going to submit any pictures of anything in pajamas. Just making that very clear. Okay. Only pictures of you will be in uniform. There you go. When you check your grades, you know, you're anywhere in Blackboard in the course. You'll pull down here, the same place where your course content tab is. You'll click My Grades. Now, I'm in the instructor tab, so it doesn't work for me the same way it works for you. So this doesn't work for me, but I believe, so you see this quiz. Here's this week's quiz, okay? And you want to review the quiz after you've taken it. You'll see on the grade over here, you'll see that you made a 34 out of 40. Oh, well, what did I miss? It is either, I don't remember, it is either you click on the quiz, the title of the quiz, or it's come over here and click on the grade where you'll see 32 over 40. Or 34 over 40, 36 over 40. You click on that grade and the quiz will open up that you took. I have it programmed. This is one of the places where I'm a little bit of a mean punk. I have it set so all you will see are the questions and the answer that you gave. And you'll see the green check mark that says you got that answer right. And you'll see a red X that says you got that answer wrong. What I hope you will do before you contest the grade, before you contest an individual question, you go back to the book and kind of look that up again. Oh, wait a minute. I thought this. Why did I get that wrong? Does that make sense? You do a little dig. And if you still can't get it, then by all means, you let me know. If you question it, Chef, I don't understand what happened here. I don't understand what I did. I don't understand how I missed this. The book says blah, blah, blah on page, blah, blah, blah. I love to be questioned.
Hey, Chef, just something if we could talk about next week. I tried to go back and see what I had missed. You know, it shows you initially right after if you hit the OK button.
Uh-huh.
And I actually was trying to print it to a PDF so I could save it I figured it would be helpful for studying in the future. And anyway, I closed out of it. So I tried to go back in through the grade portion to look at it, and it would not show me the questions and my answers. So just something for you to look at.
I need to look at that then. I may have, when I built the summer, I may have inadvertently, I've got to go back and look at that, and I'll try to have that fixed by next week. I'll need to be able to look back and not just see, I got 32 out of 40. Well, if I got 32 out of 40, I missed a few. What did I miss? Why did I miss? I want you to be able to, you come to me and say, I thought this was right because ... And then maybe I can direct you to, well, look at blah, blah, blah. And you make a good argument. So I'll give you half credit for your argument or something like that. Okay. That's how I roll. That's how I work. Sometimes you're going to contest something and I'm sorry, you were just plain old wrong. And it's okay. We're wrong sometimes. But by and large, if you are the individual who is, you're going to make sure that week 2 work is done by the end of week 2, and you do week 3 by the end of week 3. I'm not suggesting, but if you work in advance, you get quizzes out of the way and key terms out of the way. If you have kind of equal effort in the academic stuff, just as much as the lab stuff, then an A is not at all a hard thing to get with me and my class. I evaluate you against you when it comes to your cutting. I evaluate you against you. I don't evaluate you against the industry, but understand we will be getting to cuts that are as fine as a 1/16 of an inch. And a 1/16 of an inch and a 1/2 an inch is a whole continent apart from each other in the level of cutting that we will be doing. And so I take that into account, and I think you 3 are going to do just dandy. I think y'all be just fine if you keep doing. Have any other questions about anything? This recording is going to show up probably around midday tomorrow. If questions or things do come up, I think all 3 of y'all know I'm just a text or an email away. I'm not by my phone 24 hours a day, but I try to respond at least within a few hours within the day most of the time. Weekends is when responses are a little bit slower. So I encourage you to work during the week. I would encourage you to have, if you haven't established already, a schedule for yourself. You know, Jennifer, especially you doing kind of both classes at the same time. To have one day, Monday is my key terms day in both classes. Tuesday is my quiz day for everything. Wednesday is my essay day. Thursday is I've got all my product and I'm going to practice the lab and I'm going to do whatever the lab stuff is. I've designed this so that that can be, you know, if you do 1 or 2 things every day, you're giving yourself about an hour to an hour and a half each day. Devote that time Monday through Thursday, and you have the rest of the weekend to have the summer. If you want to work ahead and you have a week, because you're going to pick up product from the culinary school in 2-week blocks, right? For this class, for you guys, you won't pick up until next week. And next week, you will pick up for 2 weeks. Okay? You can do 2 weeks worth of labs in a week and take every other week off in the summer. Y'all find some time to enjoy the summer. At the very, very least, I designed this so that you can work a little bit every day for 4 days and then have a 3-day weekend every week up until the end of the semester. And I hope that works out this way. This is going to be a fun class, I think. And I'm here to answer any questions that you have and concerns if they arise. And with that, I've got 5 minutes to get on my next class. Let's just say bye-bye for now, and let me know if anything comes up in the week.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chef, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, we will. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.